everybody. Welcome back to the couch. I'm Caitlin, licensed therapist and anime fan. Behind me, you see Mochi, who's joining us. And for the first time ever, Miss Yami's gonna join us. So, this is Couch Chat. It's our monthly time to step back from the reactions and really unpack the bigger themes that have showed up in the shows we've been watching together. Couch chats are my way of connecting the dots, exploring what stories like Demon Slayer, Fruits Basket, and Spirited Away reveal about fear, healing, belonging, and growth, and what they might teach us about ourselves along the way, too. When I'm reacting to anime in real time, I can't always connect the dots and really dig deep. So I'm really appreciative to have this space that lets us pause, connect, and really reflect together. Okay, let's jump into some recaps. Let's start with Spirited Away. So we've followed Chihiro's journey, beginning with fear and resistance, moving through moments of powerlessness, and slowly finding courage at the bathhouse. The encounters with um, the Stink Spirit, No Face, Zeniba, and Yubaba all mirrored parts of her growth. And by the end, she steps into a new identity, braver and more self assured than when she began. Um, One of the moments that jump out to me is just kind of seeing her for the first time, clinging to her mom and her parents, um, clinging to Haku when he shows to be a friend in the strange new world. Um, and then I just can't help but laugh at that hilarious scene with her running in terror down the steps. I'm gonna think back to that moment and just have a little chuckle to myself. Um, but then all of that, and when we get towards the end, just seeing her for the first time stand tall against Yubaba, that was such a turning point, and it made me think about the moments in our own lives where we surprise ourselves with courage. Okay, and so now moving on to Fruits Basket, you know, we saw Tobu's mask of positivity finally crack, right? For these first episodes, she's always had this smile on her face. She's always said that everything's okay, and she pushes forward. Um, and that kind of can push people away. But this time, when her mask finally cracked, it allowed her friends to step closer. Um, in this case, vulnerability became a pathway to belonging. Alongside that, we also saw more about Yuki's insecurities. We saw rivalries turning into cooperation, and the theme of chosen family deepening. This really touched me because, as a therapist, I often see people believe that they have to keep smiling to hold relationships together, right? In essence, it's I have to be perfect. But in reality, those cracks in the mask are what deepen connection. This actually makes me think of one of my favorite concepts called kintsugi, if you guys have ever heard of it. I'll try and explain it the best way that I can or how I understand it, but it's this Japanese concept that comes with pottery where instead of throwing away broken pottery, they use this mixture of maybe like some sort of glue or resin and gold, and they put the pottery back together and it turns into this really beautiful piece, right, with gold lines all through the pottery where those cracks were. Um, And I think that represents um, this moment perfectly, right? Um, our flaws and imperfections are beautiful, and being able to see them that way actually allows us to strengthen our connections with other people, right? Because we all have those scars, and to be able to see them as beautiful and see ourselves in other people it's just a beautiful thing. So I would have to say that that moment in Fruits Basket really, really touched me. And then lastly with Demon Slayer, right? We're just beginning this journey. Um, Tanjiro's world, is shattered with sudden trauma. We watched him grieve, fear for Nezuko, and still show compassion in the midst of despair. Um, his protective instincts and moral wrestling remind us that even in trauma, growth and compassion can coexist. What stood out for me was Tanjiro crying for a demon. Like, who does that? Yeah, just no. In all seriousness, it's a bold example of compassion under pressure, and it makes us think about how we hold on to empathy even when we're hurting. And in this case, it's very clear that empathy is a value of Tanjiro. And so when we're put under pressure, can we remain stead true in our values no matter what's going on around us? And so the thread tying all of these together is fear and loss are inevitable, but they create space for courage, compassion, and connection. So I really want to know what stood out or what resonated the most with you this month. Was it Chihiro standing tall even when she felt powerless? Um, was it Toru letting her mask drop so her friends could support her? Or Tanjiro's compassion in the face of grief? Please drop it in the comments. Um, what hit closest to home and home with you and why? Um, like I said earlier, for me, it definitely had to be Toru's moment. Um, that's something even I can relate to even though I'm a therapist, I know what it feels like to push through with a smile instead of asking for help. Um, and I think it's just a good reminder, um, allowing other people in, allowing ourselves to be vulnerable is not only a beautiful thing, it's also courageous. And it's something that we really need to have meaningful connections. And that's something that I strive to do, just more in my own personal life as well. So let's zoom in a little bit more on the theme, the mask of positivity. So in Fruits Basket, Toru smiles constantly, right? Even when she's scared, grieving, or exhausted. Now, at first glance, it looks like resilience, but often it's a protective mask. Clinically, we would call this fawning, right? So, this is a trauma response where we may overplease or hide our struggles to avoid things like conflict or rejection. The powerful shift came when her mask slipped. Instead of people judging her, her friends leaned in. This moment shows us something so important. Vulnerability creates belonging. Um, and this isn't just, Toru's story. Um, Chihiro's courage grew only when she admitted her fear. Tanjiro's strength came from openly grieving while still choosing compassion. Across these stories, anime reminds us that healing doesn't come from hiding, but stepping into authenticity. I think a lot of us can relate to this, whether it's school, work, or family life. We want to be the strong one. We want to be the one who never cracks. But sometimes the bravest thing that we can do is just say, I'm not okay right now. All right. So, what do we got next month? Well, I will be continuing with Fruit Basket and Demon Slayer. We'll be having a rotation of both of those. Um, and then, we're also going to be diving into another breathtaking movie. Drum roll. We're going to be watching Your Name. Um, so I haven't seen this movie. Um, this was actually one of those movies I did want to watch, and then I never got around to it. So this is actually going to be perfect for us sitting down and watching together. But I've heard it's a wonderful story about, connection and love. And I can't wait to really just sit and explore it with you. So I think it's going to be another really rich month of anime and reflection. Um, so I'm really excited. I'm a little worried though because I heard that your name is a tearjerker, um, and I do tend to cry very easily at anything, movies, TV shows. Um, like I kid you guys not, me and my brother we watch anime together. Um, we're watching the new season of Kaiju number 8 right now, and I'm not gonna say anything. No spoilers here, right? Um, but as we were watching it, like I'm just starting to get so emotional. I'm in disbelief. I'm just crying. I'm like, no, please don't, no. I'm saying all these things. And my brother's, he's looking over at me. He's like, are you really crying? Like he's making fun of me. And I was like, I'm emotional. So, if this story is as tear jerking as I've heard it to be, I might have to get my tissues ready for this one. That's okay. We can cry together. Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with this month's quote. This is a quote from Winnie the Pooh. You are braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think. This captures Chihiro, Toru, and Tanjiro so well. Each doubted themselves, but discovered strength through connection, courage, and resilience. It's a reminder for us too. Our strength often shows up in the moments we least expect it. I'd love for you to carry that with you this week. Maybe even write it down somewhere you can see it, when you need some extra encouragement. If this chat gave you something to reflect on or made you feel seen, consider liking and subscribing to stay on the couch with me. You know, I'd like to again thank you guys for being here. It's kind of wild that this is wrapping up 2 months of me starting this journey with you. I'm excited to see our little community grow, and I really do love sharing the space with you. So thank you again for joining me. And on that note, rest easy, feel deeply. Couch will always be here, and I'll see you next time. Bye.